Hey there, Suzi here. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got something really exciting to share with you. If you have ever struggled to get people to say yes to what you sell, whether it's a product, a service, a program, guess what? It's probably not your product that's the problem. I'm sure it's already amazing. It's much more likely to be the way that you're packaging and pricing and presenting your product that's the issue. Because here's a newsflash for you. People don't buy your product. They actually buy how you present your product to them in what's known as an offer. And here's what we found working with thousands of women. Most women business owners have not been given enough support to create high converting offers that reliably bring in sales and profits. And maybe you can relate. And perhaps you're not sure what to include or how to message it or how to price it or how to automatically build in things like risk reversal or urgency that'll make your clients ready to buy now versus saying things like, oh, maybe later, or I'll think about it, or the dreaded, we'll get back to you. We get it. But not knowing these things is probably the number one thing that's keeping you from making the kind of income and impact that you truly want. That's why Michelle and I are doing something we've never done before. For the first time ever, we're hosting a 2-day hands-on in-person training with a small number of women business owners where we focus solely on crafting your high converting offer. It's called Advanced Offer Creation, and we're deliberately keeping this to a group of just 12 women in a boardroom setting in Sydney so that we can work with you one-on-one. Michelle and I have decades of experience creating our own high converting offers, and we've sold millions of dollars in products and services, and we've helped thousands of women in business to do the same. So we know how to translate our experience into practical advice and support that gets you results. But most importantly, you want our help. And the reason is it can be so hard doing this on your own. And chances are you're super close to what you sell, and that can actually be a disadvantage when it comes to being laser focused on exactly what to feature and what not to feature in your offer. It can be really hard to, as they say, see the forest for the trees, especially when you've put as much into developing and creating your product as you have. It could take you years to figure this out on your own. So if you want to fast track this, head on over to Advanced Offer Creation and apply now. There are only 12 spots available and they will go fast. Michelle and I would love to see you at this 2-day training, and so go ahead and send in your application. Okay, let's get on with the show. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 258. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my amazing co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hiya, Suzi. I am doing great. You know, I feel like I'm having such an awesome start to the year. I was just thinking over the weekend, wow, this year is just seems to be getting better and better. Some great travel, some amazing client projects. Life feels good. It's kind of a nice spot to be in.
So good.
Yeah, and you know what? Another good thing is getting to chat to you today, especially on a topic that I know is one of my all-time favorite topics, and I think it's probably up there with things you like to talk about, which is addressing a challenge that we see plaguing business owners all the time, and it's this challenge, this just ongoing challenge of converting a lead to a buyer. And it's that sometimes elusive point where someone moves from consuming your free content to becoming a paid customer. And that can be a really tricky point for people in business. And being able to reliably move that person who is loving on your free content into becoming that paid customer is something that can honestly make or break the success of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, in some ways, no matter how long you've been in business, there could be something that plagues you at different times. And it really is the heart of content marketing. It's getting to that point of people buying and doing that effectively, efficiently, and as often as possible. And that's why today's episode is for you. If you're putting out great free content, and maybe you've got a really solid lead magnet, or you're running webinars, or you're even attending networking events and meeting lots of potential clients, or you're showing up consistently on social media. But when it comes to the actual number of conversions, the number of people actually buying, the number of customers you're getting, you'd really love to improve that success rate, because it's highly likely you've already got people in your marketing funnel. They're engaging with your content, they're downloading things, they're signing up, they're liking things, they might be replying to emails, but they're just not buying. And that can be so frustrating. And I know that feeling for sure. But the good news is that you can pretty quickly turn this around. And we're seeing this happen all the time with the women that we support inside of our year-long Her Business Marketing Success Mastermind. And we want to share a few of the really key points with you today about how you can do that too, because this problem of not seeming to be able to cross that sort of divide from free to paid, it's pretty rife with many of the small business owners that I'm speaking to and that Michelle's speaking to. And it's like being relegated to the friend zone in your market, right? They see you as someone who's nice and friendly and gives lots of value, very generous, has great content, but they don't necessarily see you as someone to buy from. And if you've been relegated to this friend zone, you really want to change that, and you can change it. And it's something that I've experienced in my marketing too, that feeling of I've done all this work, I'm adding so much value, people are loving it. So why aren't they all taking that next step? And this was especially relevant for me before I started being more deliberate about orchestrating that transition from free to paid using many of the strategies that we're going to share with you today.
Yeah, it's such a common situation, Suzi. And the truth is, what we're going to share is probably not what most people are thinking about when they're trying to solve this problem. The natural instinct is often, I need more traffic, or I need a better freebie, or another freebie, or maybe my audience isn't right. So we see people running around, wasting a bunch of time and energy on all these disparate tasks that could actually be taking them further away from their goal of converting more of their prospects into clients. But more often than not, it's not only about what you're offering. It's also about how you're moving people from one part of the process to the next, that divide that Suzi was talking about there, from free content to paid content, because there's often a couple of crucial pieces missing. And so we want to help you start thinking differently about that content, everything that you're delivering free, and also how you're navigating that divide. It's not just a series of isolated pieces, but seeing it more as a fully connected and choreographed sequence of steps that's intentionally designed to move someone from interested to invested, from free to paid.
And you used an interesting couple of words together there, Michelle, this idea of the choreographed sequence, because what we're focusing on today is the importance of taking people on this journey. So it's not a case of here's a free thing and here's another free thing. Oh, and here are 5 more free things. Now, please pull out your wallet and buy this other thing that actually has dollars attached to it, which is often how we see it done. This disconnected approach that is based on the idea that if you just give enough stuff away, eventually people will know, like, and trust you enough to actually buy what you're offering. And that can work with some people, but we find that you're grossly missing out on converting more of the people engaging with your free content to buyers when you think about your content like this. So instead of peppering your audience with a bunch of free stuff, you need to think much more in terms of a crafted journey, something that's designed, a choreographed sequence, to use the words that Michelle just used, where one free thing leads to the next level of commitment and then the next, until the level of commitment is to buy from you. So for some businesses, that lead time between levels of commitment can be quite short. Someone can go from engaging with your free content and then becoming a paid customer in just a couple of steps. And to give you an example, one of our masterminders, Loretta Brandolini of Illuminate Beauty, who recently ran a fantastic promotion for her new sunscreen products. So Loretta creates hair care and skincare products for women over 50. And so she released a new sunscreen product, and she had a massive number of brand new people to her world buy from her within just a short time after consuming her free content. And they saw just a few pieces of content and they engaged in just a few commitment steps before being ready to buy her sunscreen, which is priced at under $50. And perhaps you sell a product or a service that's a low ticket item, and you might move someone from free content to a paid customer in just a few steps. Of course, if you sell something for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, then there may need to be more touch points and incremental levels of commitment before someone is ready to buy from you.
Yeah, so well put. And the big idea here is regardless of whether you sell a high ticket or a low ticket product or service, you can make your sales cycle shorter and way more effective by having a very specific dynamic at play. And this dynamic is what we call the problem solution dance. And this is one of the most powerful and effective ways that we've found to design content all through that journey that doesn't just impress your audience, it moves them into those ascending levels of commitment and engagement and trust. And we're going to talk you through how to use this problem solution dance, this choreography, to guide someone from that very first point of contact, like downloading a freebie or clicking on a link somewhere, all the way through to saying yes to your paid offer.
Absolutely. So if you have been listening to this show for a while, you might remember the problem solution dance. You might have heard us mention it before. We actually introduced this all the way back in episode 66, and this is episode 258. So that is how long we've been talking about it, if not longer. And if you haven't heard that episode yet, definitely go back and check it out. We're going to include a link to that episode in today's show notes, and I'll tell you where to find those later.
Yeah, right. That's an episode we just keep referring to, don't we, Suzi? I keep saying to people now, go back and listen to episode 66. I know that number off by heart, because it is such a key part of understanding this shift. How do I get someone's interest and then move them through ascending levels of commitment and get them to shift from my free content to buying something from me? And so we've decided to talk about it in an in-depth way again today for a few reasons. First, of course, this is so fundamental to everything we teach. It's one of those concepts that deserves repeating because we see so many people not doing it or missing a key part of the problem solution dance. They're spending way too much time and energy on content that's not helping. And second, today we're really looking at it in a very specific way. Right at this point of journeying from free to paid, that divide. So even if you've heard us talk about this before, stick with us. You want to hear this again and again, over and over. You cannot hear it too many times. It's going to be an important reminder, and we're going to be covering some angles you may not have heard us talk about before on the show.
And if you're new to the show, hello. We really think you'll love this because the problem solution dance is such a powerful lens through which to look at your content. It helps you create marketing that actually moves people forward and makes your content do what it's actually designed to do. Because if your content is just sitting there looking pretty but not helping people move closer to buying from you, it's time for a rethink. And we've got a practical worksheet that we've created for you to help you spot any missing links in your content journey and applying what we're teaching today to your business. So we will give you a link, as I mentioned, for that a little later in the show.
So maybe we can start by talking about one of the biggest misconceptions we see when it comes to content and conversion. And that's the idea that if you just give enough value, people will eventually buy. And Suzi spoke to that a little earlier. And I get it. That belief makes sense on the surface. We've been told for years that marketing is about building trust, giving generously, and being helpful. And those things are important, but they're not the whole story. Generosity is important, but generosity without intentionality can just lead to that friend zone Suzi was referring to. And it also can just lead to a lot of burnout. You're just giving, and you're not getting back. You're not making progress. And it brings me to one of really the core philosophies here on the Content Sells podcast. It's something you'll hear me say often, and that is no content without conversion. Now, that doesn't mean every piece of content is shouting, buy now, press here, sign here, press hard. But it does mean every piece of content has a job to do in the overall conversion of your customer. Each post, each email, each webinar, each advertisement needs to know its particular conversion job. So the email's conversion job is to get people to open. Where are you sending them? What is the purpose of that click in that email? What's the next step? And what's the conversion job of that step? And really thinking that whole journey through, understanding where each piece of content fits in the overall journey, what problem it's solving, and what step it's setting up next. Because the truth is, if your free content isn't leading somewhere very specific, it is just noise. And we see this happening all the time. And maybe you are looking at all the noise that's out there right now, thinking, how do I compete? Well, this is how you compete. You might have created a great lead magnet. You might have done a post on Instagram, or you've gone live on Facebook, or you've shown up in an event and you've giving. And maybe you're getting those downloads and those likes or those replies. People are engaging with you, but you're just not seeing that translate into sales. You're not getting the return you need for the effort you're putting in.
Yeah, and this can be like having a free content kind of flatline. Everything looks good on the surface. People are nodding along. They're saying, that was great, thank you. But it's not actually turning into sales for your business. And if that's you right now, we want to say you are not alone. We've been there. And we see this happen to even the most experienced business owners.
Yeah, in fact, we recently had a strategy session with one of our masterminders, and we do these, each masterminder in the 12-month program gets 2 of these one-on-one sessions with Suzi and I a year, and they're really meaningful. They really can help someone pivot their business in a big way. And this particular masterminder brought to us this really incredible, like no doubt about it, incredible free content program that she wanted to deliver. And she was bringing it to the strategy session to get our feedback. And the thing is, this was such great content, and it took place over many months. And she was wanting our strategic feedback on this. And thankfully, it was before she launched. Now, it was full of value, beautifully branded. People would have engaged with it. But it was clear to both Suzi and I that it was not going to result in sales. It wasn't going to make that shift from free to paid. This was content she wanted to give away. And we could see it was, couldn't we, Suzi? It was going to take her hours and hours of her life. Yeah. And the thing is,
not only to create it, but to deliver it over
my gosh.
Yeah,
exactly. And then also because it was months and months, that was delaying the moment when she would even ask for the sale, right? So the big thing that jumped out to both of us was that she hadn't really thought through the problem solution dance. And it's so easy to happen. We get excited about an idea, and she was really excited about this idea. And she jumped into action, and maybe you, as you're listening, you can relate. I know I've done this, but she hadn't connected that free content with the conversion job of that content. And remember, no content without conversion. She wasn't crystal clear about what the next level of commitment she wanted that free content to create actually was, and how she was going to use that free content to fast track that commitment. And you want that to be like your default thinking around any free content that you're creating. So when we dug into it, we realized something really important. This awesome free content, because she's a real expert in her field, was solving the whole problem that she really wanted people to pay her to solve. That, and the fact that it was taking place over so long a period of time, was that she was likely going to see a big drop-off when she finally did get around to asking for the sale, because there's going to be very few people, if any, left, after months and months of kind of going through this process. And those that were left were going to kind of be feeling complete, or like they had plenty to go on with.
Yeah, full, just full, like more than enough. And that's such an important distinction, because sometimes we give away so much in our free content that we accidentally make the paid offer kind of irrelevant. And there's no gap left to close, no next problem to solve, no curiosity to satisfy. Or as I said, people are just full, like, okay, that's enough. So either that, or, we're wearing people out, giving them free thing after free thing and never giving them that experience of making progress, of knowing of the next level of commitment will give you more focus, clarity, the result you want, whatever it is, which is why we come back to that idea that Michelle mentioned earlier of no content without conversion. Every single piece of content has to have a conversion job. It needs to be part of a bigger journey. Otherwise, you end up building trust with no transaction. And we see these actually with some big influencers, Michelle, like so many followers on social media, not selling a thing. Because they've built the trust, but there's no content that is actually asking people for a conversion. So now, this doesn't mean that every post or freebie has a sales pitch. Many of the posts that we do is to build awareness, is to grow followers. It's not to buy a thing, but it's about making sure that each piece of content is working in service or moving people towards the next step. So it's all very intentional. So whether that next step is joining your list or attending your webinar or booking a call or going to your website or making a purchase, whatever it is. So If we pause and ask, what job is your content doing every time we put content out there? So if you've got a freebie, is it actually leading to your paid offer, or is it solving a different problem? And you might think, you see, Suzi, I've got an ebook, people download it, I'm then going to, keep them warm until I make an offer. I could talk for hours about that. Michelle could talk for hours about that because that's not it. There's too big a gap. You want to let them know what the next step is. How do they solve the next problem pretty quickly? So one problem is that you've got a freebie, it's leading to a paid offer, but that process is sort of long-winded, or is solving a different problem altogether, or it could be solving everything. It's like it's all in there and really leaving you nothing to offer or to do with them next.
Yeah, or maybe, you've got a nurture sequence after someone signs up for your freebie, but are those emails just nice content, like Suzi said, you're just keeping them warm? Or are you actually in those emails elevating the level of commitment you're asking people to make, asking them to click through and book a call, or asking them to join that training, and on that training, you're going to make an offer? Like, where is the direct line, the pre-designed journey that's going to take me as quickly as possible? And, Suzi's already established some of us can move very fast when we're selling a low-ticket thing. Some of us need to move a little slower when we're selling a higher-ticket, more complex product, but as quickly as possible to the sale. So are you continuing the journey? Is each piece of content kind of opening the door on the next step, the next step, the next step? Are they part of the dance, this choreographed dance? Because this is where you are likely losing your leads, where you're getting stuck in the friend zone. You've got someone's attention, but there's no journey behind that attention to take them on, no choreography, no connection between the steps. It's like you're saying, hey, look at this. Oh, no, look at this. Oh, no, look at this. But you're just pumping stuff out on the front end that's not connected to any destination on the back end. And that's why we want to invite you into a new way of thinking, not just about creating content, but about designing a conversion journey, where your front-end content is really part of your marketing funnel, the whole journey you want to take someone on right to the point of purchase, where you think like a journey designer, not just a content creator. And this is the all-important shift that the most successful content marketers and marketers in general make, moving from isolated content to an intentional conversion journey. So if you've been operating under that belief that your content's only job is to be helpful, to build trust, we want to invite you to try on a new perspective.
And this is a big mindset shift more than anything. But once you get it, it really changes everything. It's the difference between content that just feels nice and content that actually gets results. Because yes, we all want people to like our content. We want them to comment. We want them to do all those things, but ultimately we want to sell something. So what do we mean when we say, instead of thinking like a content creator, you want to think like a journey designer? So a journey designer is someone who sees the whole picture, not just the blog post or the webinar or the Instagram reel, but how each one of those things connects together to move your audience from problem to solution to transformation. And when you're thinking like a journey designer, you don't just create content because you should or because everyone's doing it. You create content because it has a conversion job. It has a conversion role. You know why you're making each and every piece, who it's for, what step it's supposed to lead to, and how it fits into the bigger journey. And it's like the difference between laying down a bunch of bricks and building a house. The content creator is laying out one brick at a time. Another blog post, another webinar, another email, another podcast, another free challenge, whatever it is. But when you do that, you can just end up, using our building analogy, our bricklaying analogy, a pretty useless wall. But if you're thinking like the journey designer, you're looking at the blueprint. You know why each brick, each piece of content is going where it's going, what the ultimate goal is, what you're trying to build, and how each piece supports that bigger goal.
Yeah, I love that analogy of, building and laying down bricks, just mindlessly going, well, I'm busy, right? You feel really busy when you're laying bricks or putting out blog posts and podcasts, right? Like one sort of isolated thing after the next. But yeah, you just end up building something that's not really functional versus, oh, this is what I'm building. Now, what are the pieces of content I need to put out, in what order to move people towards that. So when you think like a journey designer, you stop creating this disconnected content and you start building a conversion pathway. You go from a bunch of content that's sitting on different parts of the internet to a cohesive system that moves someone from the moment they first discover you all the way through to becoming a client, and even beyond that into becoming a repeat buyer and a raving fan who refers other people to you. And this is where the problem solution dance really starts to we've set the groundwork for you to really think about the problem solution dance. And we mentioned earlier, we first shared this in depth back in episode 66. It's really the perfect way to think like a journey designer because it gives you some structure, a way to connect the dots and choreograph your content so it creates momentum. So, Suzi, do you want to kind of give us a high-level overview of what this problem solution dance is, how it works, and how you can use it to move seamlessly from free to paid?
Absolutely. So at its core, and we do recommend you listen to the original episode, but at its core, the problem solution dance is really about momentum. You're not just solving a problem with each piece of content in the journey you're taking someone through, you're actually creating the conditions for a new, more relevant problem to emerge as well. And you're doing that strategically. And we'll explain what we mean here. So every time you solve one problem, you reveal another. And that's what keeps someone moving forward towards buying. So you're giving someone that feeling of making progress, but you're also highlighting what's still missing and how you can help them close that gap. So if you think of it like a choreographed routine, using the language we were using earlier, every step is connected to the one before and it sets us up for the one that comes next. So if you skip a step or you throw in a random move, if you imagine a dance, a choreographed, the whole dance starts to feel clunky or confusing. But when it's well choreographed, it's seamless, it's elegant, it's compelling. And the best part when you do this well is people don't feel like they're sold to. They feel like they're being supported to now fill the gap of the new problem that has emerged. They're guided. It's like they're getting exactly what they need when they need it.
Yeah, and you're talking about that clunky dance. I got that vision of Elaine from Seinfeld. Did you ever?
The best skit, yes.
Oh my gosh! If you have not seen Elaine dance, you have to go and Google it. It is hysterical.
Maybe we'll put a link in the show notes.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to make a note of that. I just love her so much. But yeah, I just love what you're saying there too. You know, it doesn't feel like you're dragging someone up your marketing mountain. And marketing mountain's a concept we talk a lot about here on the show and in the work we do. And if you've not heard us talk about the marketing mountain before, it's a way of thinking about this journey that someone takes to buy from you. So what you sell is at the top of the mountain, the course you want to sell or the coaching product or whatever it is. And who you want to sell to, the person you want to buy from you, is at the bottom of the mountain. And your marketing process is this journey we're talking about, the path you create for someone to climb the mountain. If it's a difficult or confusing path, no one is going to make it to the top. But if it's a clear path with steps carved in and, placeholders where people can, hold on and push themselves up, if we continue the metaphor, then more people can make it to the top. And when you have this problem solution dance choreographed effectively, where one, you bring people into your world with a promise of solving a problem, they experience that problem being solved, and then you join the dots and make it explicitly clear what their new problem is. That's like creating those steps, those easy steps up the mountain. It feels to your ideal customers like they're climbing willingly because each step just makes so much sense.
And that goes back to that idea of they don't feel like they're being sold to because it just makes sense, to use Michelle's word. And this is where we want to be really clear. This isn't about just starting at the bottom of the marketing mountain with any problem and working your way forward. Hopefully you're being kind of directionally accurate to get someone to the top. Now, the most successful marketers, they start by identifying the ultimate transformation that they offer. That is, what is the core problem that you solve through your paid offer, your paid product, your paid service, which is what is at the top of your marketing mountain. And then they reverse engineer the steps someone would need to take in order to be ready to buy.
Oh, I want to underline that and get you to say it again, right? Like it's this reverse engineering. So instead of like just saying, I want to create this great lead magnet, I'll just throw that out there and then try and shoehorn it into something that makes sense to get them to somebody closer to buying from you. You actually start with, what am I selling? What is the ultimate problem I'm solving? And how do I kind of backtrack the steps from there to get somebody's initial attention. So this is something that might just take a minute to wrap your head around. It's one of the biggest mistakes we see. People start creating content at the bottom of the mountain. They think, what's something useful I can share to get attention? And we see this all the time. People will, find out that we do, we help women grow businesses through their marketing. They say, oh, I've got this lead magnet idea. What do you think about so-and-so? And I'm like, well, what are you actually selling ultimately? What's the ultimate problem you're solving? And who is that person that's most likely to buy the thing you're ultimately selling? I need to know that context before I can talk to you about your lead magnet. And I've got 3 or 4 things to think about before we get to that bottom of the mountain content, that front end content. So while it can work, sometimes it does work, it often leads to free content that's disconnected from the offer or that attracts the wrong person who will never value the ultimate problem you solve. There's this disconnect. Or even worse, it solves this thing, this free content you're giving out, too much of the problem too soon, or it confuses people so early in the process that they abandon the journey. And what I mean by that is I might not yet have an understanding of this problem that is maybe something you need to explain to me a little later in the process, and you're trying to lead with that. And so nobody can quite resonate or connect with it because they don't know this is the problem that they have right now. You need to solve the problem before the problem, right? So that's why the problem solution dance is really about starting at the top of your marketing mountain, getting clear on the ultimate problem your paid offer solves, and then mapping out the series of problems and solution that will lead someone there naturally.
Now, I just want to pause and recognize this is a big topic. And so if this is new to you, stay with us and, even possibly click and rewind and listen to this again, because it really is a different way to think about how to take people from free to paid, how to make converting those leads into buys really seamless. It's going to mean cracking open a different way of thinking. So instead of thinking, what's a good lead magnet? You're thinking, what's the first problem someone has to solve before they're even ready to value what I do? And as they solve that problem, with your help, of course, you use that moment of progress to reveal a new problem. And that new problem is one that gets them closer to needing what you ultimately offer, what you ultimately want them to buy. So for example, if your paid offer is a group coaching program that helps women create a whole new career direction, that's a pretty big transformation. But the person you're trying to reach may not be walking around saying, I need a new career direction and I need a transformation around that. They're not. They might be saying, I feel stuck. I've lost my confidence. I don't know what I'm good at anymore. So your first piece of content might be a quiz called What's Your Hidden Strength? And that's solving a problem. It's building self-awareness. It's building confidence that they do have something to offer. It's helping them feel seen. But now that they've discovered a strength that they've been overlooking or playing down, a new problem emerges. What do I do with this strength? And now you can offer a guide, a webinar, a free challenge that helps them explore career possibilities. And that eventually leads to the next problem. This is overwhelming. How do I figure out which direction I go in? And boom, your coaching program, the thing they're going to buy from you, becomes the obvious solution.
Yeah, it's kind of like going slow to go fast. It's like taking people on this journey where they've had this experience of you solving a problem, but then you've been really clear and Johnny on the spot with the next solution to the next problem that creates. So each piece of content solves a problem, but it also opens a new problem, not by accident, but by design, the problem solution dance. And you just keep repeating that problem solution dance as you move people through ascending levels of commitment until the final commitment is, hey, please take my money. I'm ready to buy this paid program or this paid service or this paid product. And here's the really big insight. When you know that you're doing this dance, you're creating this dance, you can make sure that you're doing your best to teach people what to want and ensure that they're really present to that next problem. So when Suzi was sharing that example of the coaching program for people wanting help with a new career direction, when you are helping them with that What's Your Hidden Strength quiz, you already know, because remember, you've thought this whole thing through from the top of the mountain to the bottom. You already know the new problem you want them to be present to once you've solved this first problem of understanding the strengths they've been overlooking. So it's not like you go, I'm going to create the quiz and then figure out what the new problem is. No, no. You think the problem solution dance through. So when you're creating the quiz, you're being really clear-minded about what the new problem is going to be. And you can bake that into the delivery of the first solution. Does this make sense? So you already know the new problem you want them to be present to once they've completed the What's Your Hidden Strength quiz. So that problem is, what am I going to do with these strengths, like Suzi said? So now you can really lean on that problem right at the point where you're sharing their hidden strengths. So imagine I've taken the quiz. I'm on the page where the results are delivered. Hey, your hidden strength is blah, 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 blah. What that means for you is that you've got all of these amazing opportunities, and you might go into 2 or 3 different avenues that a person with that hidden strength can go down. And these are the words you want to say out loud. So now you know what all of these new opportunities are. You might be wondering, how the heck do I find these opportunities? How the heck do I understand what they might mean for me in my life? Where do I go to find these opportunities? Do I need to get extra training or certification? Do I need to develop my skill sets in this strength? How can I make the most of this strength to get a promotion? These are all common problems that can be hard to navigate on your own. I'm using the language that I might use at the end when I'm explaining to someone their quiz results. I'm pointing out the new problem as I deliver the solution. Are you seeing what I'm doing there? These are all common problems that can be hard to navigate on your own, which is exactly why I've created my Use Your Hidden Strengths to Grow Your Career free online training. And by the way, you can get access to that free training right here on this page. You see, I'm not waiting for them to figure out the problem on their own. I'm being really clear and explicit about the new problem and exactly how I can help them solve it. So can you see how that now feels like the thing I am very clear that I need if I'm going through your funnel? Oh, I need that because you've already shown me, wow, I've got these great hidden strengths, but now my new job is figuring out how to take advantage of these opportunities, how to apply these strengths to find these opportunities. And yeah, I want your help doing that. The new problem that I've opened up has been baked into the solution of their first most pressing problem. So now I can up-level the commitment. First, they just did a quick 60-second quiz. Now they're ready to come and join my free training or book a call or whatever your next step is. And I'm moving that person closer to buying from me. And then, of course, if I get them on the free training, what am I going to do on that free training, on that webinar? That's right. I'm going to make another problem solution pivot. I'm going to deliver on the problem, the solution for the problem that I said I would, how you can make the most of this newfound hidden strength to do things like get a promotion, find a new career opportunity, get clear on how to get more training or credentials in that area. But I'm also going to open the new problem. I'm not just creating that problem-solving content in a vacuum where I just give them my best stuff without any strategy. I do want to give my best stuff, but I want to do it in a way that is pointing towards the new problem that I'm opening up, that I want to solve so people can move forward with me. So the new problem in this example is, wow, that's a lot of stuff I have to figure out on my own. Thanks for showing me all that's required and how I might do it. But now my problem is that I don't have the time or the inclination to do this on my own. And you might be pointing that out. Hey, you've seen all the ways you can solve this problem. We've been through it together in this 90 minutes of training. But you might be thinking to yourself, hey, that's a lot. Or I don't have the time for this. Or I'd really love someone to do this for me, which is exactly what we help you do in our 12-month coaching program. And you can go here now to buy this program.
So good. Anything else?
Just try to illustrate it because like you said, Suzi, this is a new way of wiring the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's no waste. This is what I love about this process. There's no flapping around. There's no frills that don't need to be there. Each step in the customer journey up the marketing mountain to what you want them to buy has the best chance to move that prospect from being a free observer to a paid client. So let's map this problem solution dance out in a super simple formula that you can think of like this. So you want to start, as we said, with the final transformation your paid offer delivers. And what I mean by transformation is what is the result that people get? What is the big change that happens in their lives, in their businesses, in their teams, whatever it is that your paid offer delivers? What is the big meaningful result? So you want to ask yourself, what's the last problem someone needs to have before they're ready for this offer? And then you ask what comes before that. And you keep going backward until you get to a problem they're already aware of. This is really important, something that's going to get their attention at the very first step. Then you design your content, whether it's your lead magnet, your nurture sequence, your sales process, to walk people through that sequence. And each step solves a problem and it reveals a new one. That is the problem solution dance. That's what makes it so powerful. You're not pushing anybody. You're not trying to persuade them before they're ready. You're building readiness and commitment with every single step. And you're doing it in a way that feels generous and it feels aligned. You're giving value, but you're also being very strategic about that journey from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain where they buy from you. And you're not getting relegated to the "isn't she wonderful" friend zone.
This is the difference that builds, between content that builds trust and content that builds trust and converts. Like, we want to be building trust, but just building trust on its own is what gets you in the friend zone. Building trust and converting. And this is the piece that's missing. And I hear people say this all the time. I'm giving value, Michelle, but no one's buying. And it breaks my heart. And Suzi, I know from all the conversations you and I have had about it, it's heartbreaking for you too. And, that's why the problem solution dance is our go-to methodology for designing any content funnel, any journey, any conversion journey to move people from free to paid. Whether it's that simple couple of steps to get someone to buy your sunscreen, or whether it's a multi-step campaign that might take place over days, weeks, or even months to move someone towards buying your high-ticket offer.
And we've got a free resource for you that steps you through this process of reverse engineering your very own problem solution dance. So, for example, you might offer a business mentoring service to help small business owners grow their business. By simply telling people that you offer mentoring might not be working. So instead, think about the problem someone has right before they hire a mentor. Maybe they're realizing they don't have the time or expertise to make the changes to their business. Whatever it is that they need, they can't do it on their own anymore. But it's likely that only a small percentage of your market are aware of that. So what is the problem before that? Maybe the problem before that is that they don't have a clear roadmap or blueprint on how to even grow their business. And maybe the problem before that is they feel stuck and their business isn't growing no matter how hard they work, no matter how many hours they put in. And they might think it's because they just can't get enough leads. So you meet them where they're at. You've heard that saying, you meet them where they're at. Let's play that reverse engineered process forward now from the start of the journey. So my first problem is problem number 1. My business isn't growing and I'm not getting enough leads. Solution number 1. Here's our fast lead generation script. Download this free resource. New problem. Problem number 2. Guess what? It's not just leads. You need a clear roadmap that takes other growth factors into account, like team, sales, marketing, product development, and more, or else you'll get those new leads and you won't have the ability to convert them and then to deliver on your promises. So solution number 2 is, here's your clear roadmap. Let's get on a call and talk you through it. This opens up new problem number 3. And this is them saying, wow, looking at all that's involved in the roadmap, I can see I don't have time or expertise to do this as quickly and as effectively as I want to, which brings them to the ultimate solution. No worries, we can do that for you. We can do that with you, right? We can work beside you and give you all our resources and processes and coach you on each and every step.
So good. Can you see how that dance just unfolded that Suzi so beautifully just outlined for you? First, she showed you how to reverse engineer it, thinking about the ultimate thing you wanted to solve and what's the problem before that and what's the problem before that, till you kind of get down to the level at the bottom of the mountain, which is what's occupying someone's mind right now. That's the sort of lead magnet that's going to get clicked, that's going to get opted in for, that's going to get people, you're meeting them where they're at. And then you imagine them climbing up the mountain where your sort of reverse engineered process now unfolds for them kind of in chronological order. And you are moving them into ascending levels of commitment, ascending understanding of the problem. Sometimes you just got to meet people where they're at. I'm thinking about Angela Council, Suzi, in our mastermind group. You know, she has a very holistic approach to helping women thrive in menopause. But what they've got the ears to hear and the eyes to see at the bottom of the mountain is, I just want to lose this fat I've got around my tummy that's come on since I started menopause. So she meets them where they're at with a lead magnet about dealing with the menobelly. But very quickly, she's opening the new problem. Hey, now you've got this. You know how to get rid of the menobelly, but you know what? You could easily just get into this diet sort of roller coaster because there's some underlying things in menopause that you need to now change and address more holistically. I'm talking about it on my free training. Come along. So then on the free training, she solves that problem. She shows them the holistic approach. And then the new problem is, hey, I don't know that I can do this on my own. This feels like a lot. Well, that's exactly what we walk you through inside of my Embrace program. And then she invites them to join her paid program. So I just love the way you illustrate that, Suzi. And you know, what I want to say is that when you know your problem solution dance, you only need to create enough steps in the process and enough content to go with those steps that you need. No more and no less. So you make each piece of content you create really count. You don't have to create 1,000 pieces of content, just a few pieces that are in this choreographed sequence. And you can build this into every stage of your content, from the initial lead magnet, this problem solution dance, from the initial lead magnet to the nurturing, to the next step webinar, or to the sales conversation, or to the meeting, or the proposal, or whatever is in your normal sales process. Each step involves solving one problem and teeing up the next until you get to that ultimate problem that you're going to ask them to pay you for. And it works across every type of funnel. I know because I've tried gazillion different ways of, you know, different businesses, high ticket, low ticket, product businesses, service businesses, business to business, business to consumer. The problem solution dance gives you a repeatable way to move people from free to paid in a way that feels good for both you and your client.
And that is really what makes it such a powerful tool. So what happens is you're not scrambling to get someone to buy, you're just helping them take what is obviously the natural next step. And you'll see how you can think this through using the special download that we've created for you, which I'll tell you how to get in just a moment. But first, we love to share these tips with business owners, and especially women business owners. And what really helps us to get it out to more people, get these messages out to more people, is our ratings and our reviews. And we are so lucky to have over 100 5-star reviews already. If you're one of the people who's given us a review, thank you so much. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, one of the reviews we got very recently is from the lovely Frida Ma from SalesPod. And SalesPod works with the leaders of small and medium businesses to find and implement the right customer-facing technology, like CRM systems. And she does this with consulting services and her new course, the CRM Game Plan course. And she left a rating that said, just listening to the proposal episode, we recently did an episode about how to write proposals, and it was one of our most popular. And she said, such great and easy to implement ideas to lift my proposals, relevant and informative, 5 stars. So thank you, Frida, 1, for listening, 2, for leaving a review. And as I said, if you enjoyed this episode or any episode of the show, we would value you leaving a review. Thanks in advance. Now, anything that we mentioned here on the show and all the things that we said about the wonderful tool that is your problem solution dance tool, you can find in today's show notes. And we're going to put the notes from today's show over at herbusiness.com/from free to paid. So herbusiness.com/from free to paid, all one word. Michelle, we've got another great episode coming up on the show. Do you want to give us a little tease about what it's about?
Oh, yes, I love to tease. Yeah, we're always kind of, looking for what is the most useful content, where are the problems that we see people struggling with. And we're going to stick a little bit with this transition from free to paid, like how do you get more people buying from you? And we're going to be exploring a strategy that is underutilized, and when it is utilized, it's sometimes misunderstood as to really how to do it well. And that is using bonuses when you are putting forward your offer. What are the free gifts that you're giving people as that sort of cherry on top, that final nudge to get them off the fence and actually buying from you? And there's some very specific things you want to be doing with your bonuses. And one of the most important things is using the bonus itself to overcome those objections that your prospective buyer has that just they can't quite shake off. They can't quite let go of this nagging worry that they have, and it's what's keeping them. You've done all the right things. You've done your problem solution dance. You've convinced them of the value, but they just can't press that buy button or sign off on that purchase order or whatever it is. The bonus, when it's well crafted and with those objections in mind, is kind of your secret weapon to getting people to cross the line and actually jump in and say, yes, sign me up.
Thank you, Michelle. That's coming up in the next episode, so be sure to subscribe or follow if you don't already do that. We want to thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells podcast. Bye for now.